Have you ever wondered how gays and lesbians make love? It's a question that sparks curiosity, and this video aims to answer it with truth and respect. We'll be exploring the biological and psychological aspects of same-sex lovemaking, providing a comprehensive understanding of these practices. It's essential to appreciate the diversity of human sexuality and to understand the different ways love can be expressed. So let's shake off any preconceptions and delve deeper into this topic, shedding light on some common misconceptions. Sexuality is a spectrum, not a binary concept. This means that sexuality isn't simply an either-or situation, like flipping a switch. It's an expansive range of identities, emotions, and experiences that can shift and evolve over time. At one end of the spectrum, you've got heterosexuality, an attraction to individuals of the opposite sex. At the other end, there's homosexuality, an attraction to individuals of the same sex. But in between, there's a whole world of possibilities. Some people might identify as bisexual, attracted to both men and women, or pansexual, attracted to people regardless of their sex or gender identity. Others might not feel sexual attraction at all, identifying as asexual. What's crucial to understand here is that sexuality isn't just about who you're attracted to. It's also about how you behave in response to that attraction and how you identify yourself in relation to it. So, when we talk about gay and lesbian, we're talking about individuals who are attracted to and often have romantic and sexual relationships with people of the same sex. Gay is often used to refer to men who are attracted to other men, though it can also be used more broadly. Lesbian, on the other hand, is used to refer to women who are attracted to other women. But remember, these labels are just that, labels. They can be helpful in giving us a language to talk about our experiences, but they don't define us. They don't tell the full story of who we are, what we feel, or how we live our lives. And it's this understanding of sexuality as a fluid, complex, and deeply personal part of our identity that allows us to begin to understand how gays and lesbians make love. Because it's not just about the physical act, it's about the emotional connection, the shared experience, and the mutual understanding that comes with being intimate with someone who understands and appreciates you for who you truly are. Understanding the fluid nature of sexuality is the first step to understanding how gays and lesbians make love. Biologically speaking, sexual activity varies greatly among individuals, regardless of their sexual orientation. Our bodies are fascinatingly complex systems that respond to a multitude of stimuli, and sexual activity is no exception. Just like our fingerprints, our sexual responses are unique to each of us. But it's important to understand that the basic biological processes involved in sexual arousal and response are the same in all humans, regardless of their sexual orientation. Let's start with arousal. Arousal usually begins with some form of sexual stimulus. This can be physical, such as a touch, or psychological, like a thought or fantasy. The body then responds to this stimulus by increasing the heart rate and blood flow to certain areas, including the genitals. This is true for all humans, whether they identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or heterosexual. Next, we have the sexual response. This is where the body prepares for sexual activity. In men, this typically involves an erection, and in women, the vagina becomes lubricated. Again, these responses are the same regardless of a person's sexual orientation. Now, it's crucial to mention that while the biological aspects of sexual activity are quite similar across the board, how these mechanisms are put into practice can vary greatly. This is where things like personal preference, comfort levels, and communication come into play. In any sexual relationship, regardless of the genders involved, consent, protection, and communication are paramount. Consent is about ensuring that all parties are comfortable and agree to the activity. Protection is about taking measures to prevent sexually transmitted infections and unwanted pregnancies. And communication is about being open and honest about your desires, boundaries, and experiences. In essence, the biological aspects of gay and lesbian sex are not fundamentally different from heterosexual sex. It's more about the dynamics between the individuals involved, their preferences, and their communication. Biologically, the mechanisms of sexual activity are similar for everyone, but the ways in which these mechanisms are put into practice can vary greatly. The psychology of sexual activity is just as important as the biology. Now let's delve into the psychological aspects of gay and lesbian sex. Just like heterosexual relationships, emotional intimacy is a crucial component in the sexual lives of gays and lesbians. It's the deep personal connection between two individuals, created through shared experiences, mutual respect, and understanding. This intimacy can greatly enhance the sexual experience, making it more satisfying and fulfilling. Communication also plays a pivotal role in sexual relationships. It's through open and honest dialogue that partners can express their desires, set boundaries, and negotiate sexual activities. This is especially important in gay and lesbian relationships, where there might not be societal scripts or expectations to follow, giving partners the freedom to explore and create their own unique sexual narrative. Trust is another cornerstone of a healthy sexual relationship. Knowing that your partner respects your boundaries, values your consent, and cares about your pleasure can make sex a more enjoyable and less stressful experience. It's about more than just physical safety. It's about emotional security as well. Speaking of consent, it's worth emphasizing that it's a fundamental part of any sexual activity. It's an ongoing process of negotiation and agreement, not a one-time yes or no. In gay and lesbian sex, as in all sexual activity, anything that happens should be enthusiastically agreed upon by all involved. The societal attitudes and internalized stigma can also affect the sexual practices of gays and lesbians. Despite significant progress, homophobia and discrimination still persist, which can lead to internalized negative feelings about one's own sexuality. This can affect sexual desire, activity, and satisfaction. It's important to acknowledge these pressures and work towards overcoming them, whether that's through self-acceptance, therapy, or seeking support from communities. The psychological aspects of sexual activity often play a larger role than the biological aspects, especially in the context of societal pressures and stigmas. So, let's continue to challenge these stigmas and create a world where everyone can enjoy fulfilling, healthy sexual relationships. There are many misconceptions about gay and lesbian sex that need to be addressed. Let's start with the idea that there's a right or wrong way to have sex. This is simply not true. Like any other human interaction, sexual encounters are a unique experience that can differ greatly from person to person. What feels good and right for one person might not be the same for another. This applies to everyone, regardless of their sexual orientation. Hence, the notion that there is a standardized, one-size-fits-all approach to gay or lesbian sex is a myth. Another common misconception is that all gay men have anal sex, or that all lesbians only engage in oral sex or use strap-ons. It's important to understand that not all gay or lesbian couples engage in these sexual activities. Just as with heterosexual couples, sexual practices among gay and lesbian couples vary widely. Some might prefer manual stimulation, others might enjoy oral sex, and still others might prefer penetrative sex. The key is that each couple, each person, has the freedom to explore and express their sexuality in the way they find most fulfilling. There's also the harmful stereotype that gay and lesbian sex isn't real sex because it doesn't involve a man and a woman. This is another misconception that stems from a narrow understanding of what sex is. Sex isn't just about reproduction. It's also about intimacy, connection, and pleasure. It's an expression of love and affection, a way to communicate feelings and emotions, and these aspects are present in gay and lesbian sex, just as they are in heterosexual sex. Lastly, there's the misconception that being gay or lesbian is just about sex. It's not. Being gay or lesbian is about who you are attracted to emotionally, romantically, and yes, sexually. It's about who you fall in love with, not just who you have sex with. By debunking these misconceptions, we can foster a greater understanding and acceptance of diverse sexual practices. Understanding the complexities of human sexuality is crucial to fostering acceptance and empathy. As we wrap up our discussion, it's important to revisit the key points we've touched upon. Firstly, we dove into the fluidity of human sexuality, a concept that underscores the vast spectrum of sexual orientations and identities that exist. This fluidity is intrinsic to our very nature, and it's a testament to the diversity of human experiences and emotions. Next, we explored the biological aspects of gay and lesbian sex, highlighting the simple fact that these are natural expressions of love and intimacy, just as they are in heterosexual relationships. The biology of sex, regardless of one's orientation, is fundamentally the same, and it's driven by the same desire for connection and pleasure. We also delved into the psychological aspects of gay and lesbian sex, emphasizing that emotional connection and mutual consent are as vital in these relationships as they are in any other. The notion that gay and lesbian relationships are solely about sex is a misconception that we need to debunk. Speaking of misconceptions, we addressed some common ones that tend to perpetuate harmful stereotypes and biases. By dispelling these myths, we can foster a more nuanced understanding of gay and lesbian relationships, thereby promoting empathy and acceptance. By educating ourselves and others, we can contribute to a more accepting and inclusive society. Let's continue to challenge our own preconceptions, learn and grow. Together, we can build a world where everyone feels seen, understood, and valued for who they truly are.